He's back. JMU hiring former Louisiana Ragin Cajuns head coach Billy Napier to take over the Dukes. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, we're obviously on the road. All right, we are at the Thundercast bed and breakfast. Really appreciate Russ Living Goods hospitality. We're going to check out the campus. Have never been here before, and we'll probably end up with a little merchandise to take home with me as well. All right, we'll get to the JMU sweeping the postseason awards, which, looking a little closer, how did that happen? And we'll do a Sunbelt Championship preview, which we thought we were going to do for most of the episode until Billy Napier was rumored to be getting the job and then got the job. All right, so I'm going to be biased. I'll tell you, I like Billy Napier. I covered him for 3 out of his 4 seasons with the Cajuns. I had moved to Mobile. Well, I guess maybe it was only 2. Because I went to Mobile in 19, and then I guess they won in 20. So I was already gone. I guess I was there for the first couple of seasons. And I'm a Napier fan. All right. I do not know what went wrong in Florida, in Gainesville, other than could never get the quarterback situation correct. But you got to have one side of the ball, right? I mean, the defense was pretty good. Seeing all the responses and what people like, what people don't like. They were sloppy, and they could never get consistent. This was the big thing. What I liked about Billy was once he got into the Sunbelt, remember, they played in the Sunbelt Championship game his first year, and they were overmatched. I think that was App State. And so he's like, now that I've gone through the conference, now I know what I need to do to compete. And one of the things he had was Levi Lewis, right? He had a 2-quarterback system his first year and would bring in Levi every 3rd or 4th possession, period. Regardless of what the starter was doing, Levi would play that 4th possession. And regardless of what Levi did, like hand the ball off to Raymond Kelly Jr. the third, Raymond Kelly Jr., right? No, Raymond Kelly the third, maybe it's Jr. Hand the ball off to him, and he ran for 80 yards. Like 3 times he did that. But we're taking him out. We're putting him. But even after that, they would take him out. And then he did not miss a start every year after that for the 3 years. Now, word was the year before he took Florida, Auburn was interested, but he wasn't sure who he was going to report to at Auburn. A little bit before kind of what John Summerall just did with Auburn, perchance. And perhaps Mississippi State as well. All right. And he withdrew from that. Also, I think South Carolina. I think he had a shot at South Carolina. And so we'll see what he does second go around in the Sun Belt. I'm not a big fan of Sun Belt, Billy. I think that's a derogatory term, mocking the conference and mocking him. So we're not going to use that much around here. But thought he was a really good coach with the Cajuns. I will say it was very frustrating because he tried to stay one step ahead of the opposition because you did have like a 3-headed monster in Eli Mitchell, Trey Regis, and Raymond Calais. And I guess teams would load the box, so he's going to try and start games passing the ball instead of just running it down the throat. I've always thought the Cajuns at that time could kind of announce the play, right? They had not 1, but 2 offensive linemen in the NFL, right? Playing on that offensive line at the time. And you could scream what play you were running, and the other team still couldn't stop it. All right. So it was a little bit frustrating. I don't know if it was being the smartest man in the room thing, but obviously the other team's going to try and stop the run. But I'm going to see if you can stop the run before I go to a passing game. And for whatever reason, I really didn't think Levi took the game to the next level like in his last year. But what he did really well in his last year was throw the deep ball. All right. And you can ask these guys in the New Orleans Bowl. They got Levi Lewis. All right. So he didn't really, and when I say take to the next level, it just wasn't really consistent. He wasn't consistently great, which he should have been. But he was consistently explosive, is what it was. And that's how they went 13-1 and won a lot of close ball games. Sun Belt championship game. Napier gets a Florida job. Mike Desmo takes over and beats Marshall in the New Orleans Bowl. So I think word is there may be a presser on Saturday. Let's hope that presser is early. You don't want the press conference during the games. You want the press conference early enough so Billy Napier can get on game day is the point. All right. You want him on national TV if you can get him on national TV. You don't want to do the press conference where, it's going to be, the news is going to fall into the either because you got all the games going on. And if there are any kind of upsets and it throws everything into, chaos, which we all hope it does, then it really is going to fall into either. So hopefully it's first thing in the morning, but 10, 11, that's what I would do it. All right. And get it out of the way and get your national publicity then, and then see what you get after that. All right. It's pretty fast. Now, remember the Cajuns, I told you that story, I guess in yesterday's episode. The Cajuns kept it very quiet who was getting the job, although it was known that Desmo was getting the job, and that was announced the next day. I'm not sure when the press conference was. I guess I have to look that up. But it's going to be very interesting. We shall see what happens moving forward. I'm a big fan of the move. I'm a homer. I can freely admit that. You could do a lot worse than Billy Napier. I think we'll find out if we do have a press conference, we can certainly ask him what he learned. What was the difference between the two experiences? And what did you learn about yourself? People don't want him to be the play caller. I told you my issues with that, at least early on. That was more of a philosophy than play calling, I think. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm a big fan of the move. It's certainly, I don't know the next time the Cajuns are going to play JMU, so that's not going to happen very often. But it would be a good thing, right? They just played them this past season, so they're not going to play them again for a minute. No, that's unfortunate. All right, let's take a timeout. JMU sweeps the postseason awards. Well-deserved, or were they? We'll talk about that when we come back, right after I tell you about FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. The receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game that moves fast, so can you. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. JMU basically sweeps the postseason awards. We'll go through the first and second teams maybe next week. But overall, player of the year is Alonza Barnett, the fourth, right? Or the third, sorry. Offensive player of the year is Colton Joseph. Defensive player is Trent Hendrick from JMU. Special teams player, I got to read these because I can't see the graphics. Let's see here. All right. Player of the year. Troy redshirt junior punter Evan Crenshaw was honored as the inaugural special teams player of the year. Georgia Southern senior wide receiver Camden Brown was picked as the newcomer of the year. And James Madison redshirt freshman defensive lineman Sahir West was dubbed the freshman of the year. And James Madison head coach Bob Chesney was named coach of the year. Okay. So the Chesney one is easy. You want to give Sahir West his kudos. Okay. And it's tough to argue on the offensive player of the year and the player of the year. But it's very clear that the league decided we're going to pump up JMU as much as possible. Okay. Because, I'm not taking anything away from Alonza Barnett, the third. He had a tremendous year. Not as good as Colton Joseph's. Alonza Barnett's team was better than Colton Joseph's. Alonza Barnett played better in that ball game against Colton Joseph. One team's playing in the Sun Belt Championship, one is not. Colton Joseph had a better year than Alonza Barnett, the third. All right. Passing wise, these guys are 5th and 6th in the league, yards per ball game. All right. So not a huge difference there. Colton, probably put on the glasses would be a better idea. 218.7 yards. And Alonza Barnett, the third, 203.3. All right. Colton actually has more yards, about 180 more yards on less attempts and less completions. He does have more interceptions. So he's got 10 interceptions to Alonza Barnett's 7. He's got 21 touchdowns to Barnett's 20. Okay. That's the passing part of the game. How about the rushing? You know who's 4th in the conference in rushing? Not a running back. Colton Joseph. You know how good a year Wayne Knight had for JMU? 1,051 yards. Colton Joseph rushed for 1,007 yards and 13 touchdowns. He's 2nd in the league. Well, I should say 3rd in the league. 3rd in the league in rushing touchdowns. Brad Jackson actually had 16 touchdowns. So Brad Jackson got 16 touchdowns. Kentrell Bullock from South Alabama had 14, and Colton Joseph had 13. And Alonza Barnett is the player of the year? Really? Okay. So that's obviously they're trying to pump up JMU for the national media. Now do the defense, because how did Chris Jones from Southern Miss not win the award? Like, he led the league in tackles. He led the league in tackles per game. He was tied for the league lead in sacks. What are we doing? All right. Again, Trent Hendrick had a fine season. He was 10th in the conference in tackles, 91, had 3 sacks. He averaged 7.5 tackles a game. Chris Jones had 128 tackles. Like, almost 40 more tackles than Trent Hendrick. One averaged 7.5 tackles a game. One averaged more than 10.5. Chris Jones had 3.5 sacks to Hendrick's 3 sacks. Again, Trent Hendrick had a fine season. JMU is a better team than Southern Miss. I get it. Chris Jones had a better year than Trent Hendrick. Did they just try to find the best defensive player on JMU? Is that what they did? Kind of feels like what they did. Okay. So that is, to me, interesting. Again, these guys had good years. Others had better. And we're not, I don't think we're nitpicking here, right? Like, it's not 21 touchdowns to 20. There's 1,000 rushing yards. And I guess I'd have to look up what Barnett did. I don't think he was in the top 20 in rushing in the conference. Top 25? No, he wasn't in the top 25. All right. So again, he had a great year. I love Alonza Barnett third's the story. Absolutely love the story. All right. It is a rags to riches story, right? Literally a rags to riches story. Won the job a couple of years ago, could not get over stage fright. That was basically what I read, probably in Shane Mitland's article. All right. Jordan McLeod comes in. He's the Sun Belt Player of the Year. Transfers. McLeod does. Barnett stays, struggles for a little bit, like early on in the first game. Bob Chesney says, dude, you're not going anywhere. You're going back. If you make a mistake, shake it off, go play. And that's what happened. And now 2 years later, he's the Sun Belt Player of the Year playing in the Sun Belt Championship game. Someone needs to write a movie about that. That's a movie. Colton Joseph had a better year. Alonza Barnett III should get a movie. Colton Joseph should have been Sun Belt Player of the Year. It is what it is. And Bob Chesney, I don't know, it seemed like right after I said Charles Huff was going to be the Coach of the Year, they haven't won a game since. So Bob easily wins that now, moving forward after Huff had a great year. And Southern Miss fans, I guess it's just the way that it happened, right? They're 7-2, finished 7-5. Because if they're just meandering to 7-5, right, and inconsistent because it's all brand new, and they go 3-2 and 3-3 and 4-3 and 5-3 and 5-4, 6-4, 6-5, 7-5, they would be ecstatic. But it went the other way. So they start out 7-2 and finished up at 7-5. So obviously they're disappointed in the way the season finished. Probably should be, because that game was close for a minute. But other than that ball game, they got blown out a couple of times. Nonetheless, Charles Huff did a great job and is apparently up for jobs in Memphis and in Tulane. We'll see how that all works out. All right. Finally, let's get to the championship ball game. It is Troy versus JMU. We will do that next, right after I tell you about Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories. Because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out. No setup headaches. Just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, this would make the perfect gift. Endless photos of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. Add a personalized message right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful the moment it's open. Packaging comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. A huge win. It's a holiday gift that actually gets used, not forgotten in a drawer. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver Matte Frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Once again, thanks to Ross Living Good, co-host of the Thundercast, for allowing me to crash basically halfway to Harrisonburg. All right, would be a straight shot if I went from Louisville, but I went through Bardstown, so a little bit of a roundabout way, but just picked up 64 in Lexington and hightailed it over here. So real easy. Looking forward to seeing Marshall University. Have never been there, so looking forward to soaking in some history and, of course, getting some merchandise. All right, finally, what we thought were going to be the main topic is the Sun Belt Championship game. You got JMU and you have a Troy. We've talked a lot about JMU, and they have had a fantastic season. They missed out on probably being in the college football playoff because they came up short by 2 plays against Louisville. All right, they've had such a good season. Bob Chesney is going to up his pay maybe 600-700%. I getting told it's like $6 to $7 million. He's getting a job at UCLA. That's how good this team was. All right. They are explosive offensively and button down the hatches defensively. All right. Troy needs to be close to begin the second half, if not ahead. What Troy has done is it's really been, let's just admit it, been a fun season for Troy. They're 8-4. They started out with a win against Nichols in a game they were losing. they were losing this ball game heading into the fourth quarter, 17-10. Now, they scored a touchdown right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, but nonetheless, they scored 28 points to win it 38-20. All right. Then it got more fun, although I think they took a loss in their next ball game. Losing to Clemson, had a shot in that ball game, winning that ball game at halftime. They lost to Memphis 28-7. Then they're down 17-0 to Buffalo. And this is where the season could go off the rails. They are 15 minutes away from starting out 1-3. And they scored 21 fourth quarter points. And they're now 2-2. They beat Buffalo 21-17. Good win against South Alabama in a ball game that was back and forth. South Alabama was one of their better performances this year in a loss. Then they were way down to Texas State on the road. First quarter, down 28-7. It's 31-17 at half. They win 48-41. Troy does in overtime. Again, you got a 28 fourth quarter against Nichols. You had a halftime lead against Clemson. 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to win that ball game. You win the belt beating South Alabama, and you come from way behind to beat Texas State. I mean, how much fun is that? You beat Monroe, you beat the Cajuns, and then a little bit of, I don't know what happened. It'll be interesting to ask Jared Parker what happened against Arkansas State and Old Dominion. All right, the offensive line got banged up. Is that what I'm told? Because they did nothing offensively, and they ended up having to go back to their starting quarterback, Goose Crowder, because how can you not go back to somebody who is actually nicknamed for the guy Mavericks co-pilot? It's unbelievable. That is, you wouldn't think that'd be the case, but it is absolutely the case. I love that story. And so they rebounded with a win against Georgia State, and obviously they took down Southern Miss 28-18. It got to be 21-18. But as the announcers mentioned, they're in a zero safety blitz, or no one was back. Moten had Ra Thomas, and that was it. He changed the play at the line of scrimmage. Goose did, and hits Ra Thomas for his easy 75-yard pitch and catch touchdown. And that was the ball game. So Troy has had, I think, just a ton of fun this season, right? Seems like everybody else is under a lot of pressure. ODU is under pressure, although they finished up really well, to beat Marshall, and then they didn't compete with Marshall and didn't compete with JMU. JMU is under pressure to win as big as they can to get noticed by the playoffs, right? Cajuns trying to scrap together whatever they can because of injuries. South Alabama bouncing back, right? Texas State coming back. Losers of 5 in a row, now going to a bowl game on their way out of the Sun Belt. So it feels like a lot of those teams had pressure. Where it's like, I'm sure there's pressure with Troy. They certainly put some on themselves, right? Pressure's within the games. But how much more fun of a season can you have going 8-4? I'm sure Coach needs to get the NIL deal with Tums or Rolaids, right? And just make a big deal out of it. Instead of putting up a 4 for fourth quarter, he should put that on the sidelines because my stomach can't take it. Now, in terms of this ball game, Troy's got to somehow keep it close. Can they force some turnovers? I don't think JMU turns the ball over very much at all. And they do force some turnovers. So, and they're very explosive. And so, does Troy get punched in the face and the game spins out of control? When I saw Troy win the Sun Belt Championship, I guess against App State, that was a ball game. All right. Until it rained, Troy took the lead, but App State was going back and forth with them. But there was a strip sack, scoop and score that made a close game, if App State had scored, to a blowout. And then they couldn't do anything offensively. And then it was the Kamani Vidal show. I think he had 4 touchdowns. So we'll see what happens if Troy gets punched in the face. Can they stop the bleeding? All right. Does JMU come out tight with the pressure on to, play well? And how does the weather factor? All right. Someone told me it was going to be a light snow. Let's see what we looked last week or earlier, Harrisonburg, Virginia, snow shower, 30 degrees, winter weather advisory, record smashing cold on the way. Yee frickin' ha. From 1 a.m. till 4 p.m. All right. Winter weather advisory remains in effect from 1 a.m. to 4 p.m. What? Snow expected. Total snow accumulations between 1 and 3 inches. Portions of central, northern, northwest, and West Virginia and east West Virginia. All right. From 1 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. Plan on slippery road conditions. Hazardous conditions could impact Friday morning commute. All right. Some snow and very cold temperatures will result in treacherous travel for the Friday morning commute. All right. Combination of light snow and very cold temperatures will result in treacherous travel Friday morning. The morning commute will be impacted with slick and icy roads, sidewalks expected. Okay. So it's going to warm up. See if we get an hourly. So let's see here. It's very cold. Now we're not getting much higher into the 30s. Yeah. So it's going to be in the 20s. You're going to get into the 30s in the middle of the day. And then it's going to be in the 20s at night. So please dress warm. All right. I'm talking, and it's all about the layers. All right. You want to protect your hands. If you wear 2 pairs of socks, I'm sure I'm telling people that maybe used to this stuff. I don't know. Hats, again, a bunch of layers is what you really want. In case you do get too hot, you can take something off. But it's going to be cold. So prepare for that. You want to bring scarves to protect your face. That's a good idea as well. So it is going to be cold, and we'll see how much snow. It doesn't say, I think they say the snow is stopping. Snow is supposed to stop around 8 a.m. So not supposed to snow much after that. So we shall see. All right. I'm looking forward to going around the JMU campus. Got to pick up some garb there as well. All right. What a day. What an episode. Billy Napier going to JMU. Hoping that press conference is Saturday morning. JMU sweeping most of the postseason awards. I think some other guys probably should have won, but I think the Sun Belt is trying to get JMU as much pub as possible for the playoff push. And the Sun Belt Championship, I don't think it's going to be very close. Probably should make a pick. I'm going to say, I'll say 48-17, JMU. All right, I'm going to say 48-17, JMU. Is that cover? That's covering. Yeah, that's covering 23.5 points. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will absolutely have a Saturday morning episode. We'll do a quickie recap, probably from the field Friday night. I'll post that as quickly as possible, but we'll have a full breakdown on Saturday. And then if Napier is announced on Saturday in the morning, I will, I'll stick around for that. Why wouldn't I stick around if they let me? I'm absolutely going to stick around. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. We're growing by leaps and bounds, over 2,750 subscribers. Really cool. And we're already having a great month. We have one coaching search down. We have another coaching search. Coastal Carolina is still to go. And we'll see what happens if Charles Huff gets Memphis or Tulane. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you again from Harrisonburg. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Friday, everybody. And hopefully you're looking forward to the game.